Magandang araw po mga kababayan. Kumusta na? Welcome po sa episode 65 ng Usapang Pinoy, which is a Filipino podcast. This is a Georgia Asian Times podcast and salamat po sa patuloy ninyong pagtangkilik sa Usapang Pinoy at maraming salamat din po for engaging in our Usapang Pinoy Facebook group page. Marami na pong nagko-comment doon and I am very thankful dun sa mga suggestions ninyo sa mga topics at mga episodes, mga tanong at mga paksa na gusto ninyong pag-usapan sa Usapang Pinoy. So it is the month of June at ito po ay napaka-importanting buwan para sa mga Pilipino. Number one, because it is our Philippine Independence Day celebration. So nationwide po, lahat ng Phil-Am communities, we are doing a lot of celebrations leading to June 12. Dito po sa Atlanta, we have a Kalayaan Gala Night, which is going to be held at the Georgia Aquarium on June 12 itself. Many years ago, yung pong mga community leaders, as well as the Honorary Consul General of the Philippines, who is Raul Ray Donato, have been celebrating it the weekend before June 12. Pero about 15 years ago, they have decided that we should claim June 12 as our day. Kaya dito po sa Atlanta, we celebrate Philippine Independence Day on June 12 itself. So ang celebration po natin is next Wednesday, which is going to be at the Georgia Aquarium, as I said. Ngayong araw na ito po, I am skipping my normal announcements about calendar of events and yung ibang public servants announcements po because I am so excited dahil napaka-importante po ang ating guest podcaster today, ang ating pong guest. At yan po ay, and I want to get into the conversation immediately, so i-skip ko na po yung mga announcements. Ang bisita po natin ngayon ay walang iba kundi ang sariling atin, ang kagalang-galang na Ambassador of the Republic of the Philippines to the United States of America, si Ambassador Jose Manuel Babe del Gallego Romualdez. So si Ambassador Romualdez po was appointed Ambassador of the Republic of the Philippines to the United States of America in July 2017 by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and was reappointed in July 2022 by President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. On November 29, 2017, he presented his credentials to the US President Donald J. Trump and formally assumed office as an Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary. Additionally, as the head of the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C., Ambassador Romualdez is concurrently the Philippines emissary to the Commonwealth of Jamaica, Republic of Haiti, Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and St. Lucia. Prior to his appointment, Ambassador Romualdez was designated as a special envoy of the Philippine President to the United States. He also served as a member of several Philippine business delegations visiting the United States, China, Japan, and New Zealand from 1989 to 2012. Welcome to Usapang Pinoy, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Thank you for inviting me.
I am truly humbled po and very grateful for honoring Usapang Pinoy with your presence despite your very busy schedule.
Well, today is a weekend, so it's not as busy as it normally is. Thank you.
So before I ask you the first question, please share with us a little bit of your background and diplomatic experiences prior to being appointed as the ambassador to the United States.
Well, as you know, Jane, I come from the private sector, and I actually was more in the media like you. I practiced media for many, many years. I started off as a news reporter in 1970. 72 as a news reporter for Channel 9. That was KBS at that time. And so from there, I continued on as a news reporter and then a newscaster for the now old Newswatch program. I don't know if you remember that, but maybe you were too young then. And so I've been in media for many, many years. I also was in advertising and public relations. And I was a partner of the Philippine Star in the People Asia magazine, of which I was the publisher. and I had a column in the Star. So that's basically where I kind of started off in terms of my exposure to politicians and ambassadors and so forth and so on. But I've always had very good relations with friends here, not only in Washington, D.C., but in many parts of the United States, because I also went to school here. I finished my high school in New York. And I also was affiliated with a company that was based out of New York. And so we had a lot of dealings with US companies and US personalities as well. So I guess that kind of catapulted me into that world of diplomacy because I had a lot of relationships with the US Embassy. Most of the ambassadors were good friends of mine, and perhaps that's the reason why President Duterte saw it that it was it was me that he wanted to come to Washington D.C. But at that time, I was ready to retire already. But he said he really thought that I was the right person for the job, and I don't regret taking on the job because it was very challenging then, but at the same time, it was very fulfilling and rewarding, especially during the trying days of the pandemic. I think we've been able to do a lot of work during that time, and we helped many of our countrymen survive that very horrible, a year and a half or 2 years of really serious situation that we faced with many people that are dying in our country. But anyway, as I said, it's been fulfilling, and I'm very pleased to be the ambassador now of President Marcos.
And we are very pleased here in Georgia as well po, and in the Southeast, that you are the ambassador. So, pero before I proceed, happy 126 Philippine Independence po pala
Yes,
sa atin.
that's right.
So, what is your message to the Philippine American communities in Southeast United States, where we are?
Well, it's every year whenever we celebrate our National Day or our Independence Day, we should always try to remember all of the sacrifices that were made by many of our forebears. In fact, I was just in a dinner the other night here in Washington, D.C., and I was so surprised that an American lady came up to me and says, I know a lot of history about the Philippines, but I'm particularly interested in Emilio Aguinaldo. And so Emilio Aguinaldo was really our first president of the Republic, technically, because it was he who declared our independence. And that's why every time we have a celebration, it always starts off in Kawit, Cavite, where President Aguinaldo had his home, and it's been preserved. And when you think about that, that's how proud you can be about the Filipino, because we really went through so many different situations. We were a colony of the United States. We were a colony of Spain, and we fought a lot of wars in the past to gain our independence. And the kind of sacrifices that were made during those days. And now we're facing challenges now specifically in the West Philippine Sea. It's the time for us to reflect on what it is that we can do to continue to try and be a real Filipino and be proud to be one, and that we have to have the right kind of thinking on how or where we want our country to go. I always tell our friends here, our Filipino American friends here in the United States, that maski anong isipin mo, maski na matagal ka na dito, gusto mo pa rin umuwi sa atin at magbisita man lang, or not only that, but you're very lucky because you have two countries.
Mm-hmm.
You're a citizen of the United States. You have a country like the United States, which is a very close ally of ours, and you have the Philippines to go home to whenever you want to. And it's nothing like having that kind of option all the time open to you, and not too many people have that. And that's why it's very important for us to have that kind of freedom, a freedom that we will be able to, which is the similar kind of freedom that that people experience here in the United States, and that you can go home to the Philippines. You have the freedom of speech, and you can do so many things there that makes you feel like a free person. And that is what we should remember during these days, that we have a country that we must also always protect and defend. whenever we're being challenged with our freedoms.
That's very right. That's very correct. Thank you, Paul. As ambassador of the Philippines, how is the Philippine-US relations right now? And what would be your top priorities for bilateral relations in the coming year?
Well, as I said, our freedom is very important for us. And now that we are facing so many of the challenges, I'm so pleased that our our relationship here in the United States has become even stronger, and it has become even not only stronger, but we have a good relationship with the people here in the United States, the representatives and the senators that represent the people of the United States. We have a very good bilateral relationship and bipartisan, which is important also, that we have both the Republicans and the Democrats who are now very supportive of the Philippines and the challenges that we face. And so my priority has always been to have a good relationship with this country. And I think that kind of relationship translates into what we are having today, that we have so much potential of economic activity. See, the defense side, we already know about that. But what's important is that we have a lot of interest that's coming into the Philippines now, which will translate into more jobs, more investments, and a stronger relationship with the United States. And so, like in your case, for instance, you want to come and you want to have your dual citizen. That's the best thing that you can do. Why? Because you can continue to enjoy the privileges of being an American, but at the same time enjoy the privilege of being a Filipino. And if and when you decide you want to invest something in the Philippines as a Filipino, you'll be given the same rights as any other Filipino to own land and to be able to invest and to be able to do things for the country and obviously help in the prosperity of our country, because economic prosperity means economic security for our country.
That's right. Thank you, Paul. Summer travel is fast approaching, and as you said, many Filipinos and Filipino Americans here are looking forward to returning home. Is there anything new that you would like to share with the Filipino diaspora regarding the latest tourism programs?
Well, we have, of course, now we call it the VIP tour, which has been going on for the past 12 or number of years now. Normally we have a lot of what we call the balikbayans that come to join this VIP tour. We call it the very important Filipino tour. It used to be the ambassador's tour, but since all ambassadors can't always, like myself, I can't always be part of that because we obviously have our work here. So we changed it into the VIP tour, which is really appropriate because you're a very important Filipino when you come to visit the Philippines. This organized tour that not only the embassy but all our consulates support. But we're also encouraging now the young ones. So we call it the VIP Junior Tour that we're now organizing, where we want the young people, those who were born here and never been even to the Philippines. We want to invite them to come to the Philippines because there's so much, that old commercial that we have. It's more fun in the Philippines. I can tell you that the young ones today, whenever they go to the Philippines, they can have all the fun because we have a lot of nice beaches, obviously. We have a very young group of, 40% of our people are young, between the ages of 25 and 35. So you can meet so many of these youngsters that are now in not only in the city of Manila, but in many of the beautiful parts of the country, like Siargao. As you know, Siargao is a place for people who want to go. What do you call that? Ski, no? What do you call that now?
Is it scuba diving po or
Well, you have scuba diving, but there's also the like what they have in Hawaii, the surfing.
surfing? Yes,
It's
yes.
a surfing. So all that is for the young people, or for the young at heart. They can really enjoy that. And for those who want to find their partner, what other place can you find that except in the Philippines?
Right.
Beautiful, beautiful people, both young and old, as they say. So I think that's probably again another reason why I always tell people here in the United States you're very lucky because you have a country that has the same kind of values that you have. Perhaps even our values are even ingrained in us, being hospitable. Anybody that comes to the Philippines is always happy, and because they're so welcome. Again, every time I talk to many of our American friends here, the one thing that they always remember a Filipino for is for their hospitality, and that we're very
That's
proud
true.
of that.
That's so true. Well, as ambassador po, do you have what would you personally recommend our kababayans to visit? Where? And as our ambassador here, what is your number one reminder or a travel trip tip for Filipinos and our friends and families who travel back to the Philippines?
Well, the biggest complaint, of course, whenever they go and land in Manila, is that number one is the traffic.
Mhm.
But that is part and parcel of it. There's not much one can do because it is really congested right now. The government uh, has been working on this. Now, President Marcos has indicated that the infrastructure program, which was started by former President Duterte and even before that, we are going to we're bumping it even more now. So hopefully we will have the subway system, which is being financed by the Japanese JICA. They call it the Japanese Finance Company. So these types of massive or massive metro system is going to help ease some of the traffic, hopefully. But that's where the for the main cities. But Manila is not the Philippines. Going out into the other areas, there are so many places to go now in the Philippines, and it's going to be much easier as the years come by because our hope and our plan is to be able to connect from Apari to Holo that you can go by car. You don't need to, and there's no more of this Roro where you have to go into a ferry and everything. All that will all be interconnected already. You can go everywhere. They say that you can go from one end of the country to the other, from the south to the north, in about a week or so. So, like here in the United States, you can go from the East Coast to the West Coast. We're going to have that in the future, and hopefully as we keep on improving our road system, the infrastructure, we'll have more better airports. We're improving our airport, of course, the main airport in NAIA, but there's also a big airport that's being planned out now by the San Miguel Group in Bulacan, which will make it easier and much more convenient to travel. So there are so many things that are happening in the Philippines right now, and we have a lot of investments actually. Contrary to what people say, there are so much investments that are coming to the Philippines, not only from the United States, but from many countries as well, like even in European countries are looking at the Philippines as a good destination point for investment in the tourism industry, which will now increase the number of places that you can come and visit the Philippines.
That's great news. I'm so glad to hear that we can go from Apari down to Hulo.
Yes,
Do you have
that,
any
that
special?
that's part of the plan. We're getting there slowly but surely. We're getting there. Perhaps in about I would say not even longer than 10 years, we should be able to connect all that uh, all the way down from north to south.
That's exciting news.
Mhm.
So, do you have any special announcement for related to your consular services?
Well, I think we what we'd like to do really is to hear the feedback from many of our kababayans. If there's any suggestions or even complaints, I know that for a while we had some difficulty because of obviously because of the pandemic. It was hard for us to catch up with the number of requests for dual citizenship, especially. But I think it's much better now. That's why we have 7 consulates all over the United States, starting from Guam, Honolulu, we have in Los Angeles, San Francisco, we have in Houston, we have Chicago, and we have New York and Washington, D.C., and Guam. So hopefully we'll be opening a couple of more of these consulates so that many of our our kababayans will not need to travel too far away just to be able to get whatever consular work, whatever consular needs they might have a need from us. So we're trying to improve everything that we can to make things easier for you, for the Filipinos and Filipino Americans who need something from the country, from our embassy.
That's great news, po. I mean, I'm going to switch gears and talk about Georgia. Georgia is one of the powerhouse economic states in the Southeast.
Mhm.
There are so many potential trade, tourism, and agriculture business opportunities to be explored in the Philippines. How can the Filipinos in Georgia be able to help improve our bilateral opportunities?
Well, I think first and foremost, if you go and if you've been to the Philippines or you were born there, I'm sure you have some good stories to tell. So by that alone, you can already help the country by telling them all the good stories that or all the things that perhaps that you know you can offer. Like in your case, for instance, Jane, you can since you're from Luzon, you know perhaps you know about Ilocos. Ilocos is a beautiful place. I know Pagudpud and many other places there in Ilocos that are beautiful places to visit, and it's also a very historical place to visit. There are churches there, the old churches, 100, 200 years old. These are all are landmarks that people may want to see. So all that I think translates into promoting the country. And then of course there's always the personality of the Filipino, and like I said, we're one of the most hospitable. And you know, I'm so proud to be really the ambassador here. I have never heard so much praise for the Filipino. You know, whenever I go and visit our friends in the U.S. Congress, especially even senators and congressmen from the South, from Alabama or from Texas, and some of these other areas, you know, we have, of course, some issues that we discuss. But at the end of the day, they always say, "Oh, we are very happy and very proud of the Filipino American community in our district or in our region." So that alone is a promotion right there. That
Mhm.
that the Filipinos are a good race. They're a good people, and I think if we can just maintain that kind of image that we have, which I'm sure we will continue to do so, uh, the Philippines is so important to the United States. Those who know us are very happy and very proud to know a Filipino. And now even our cuisine, a lot more people are familiar with the kind of food that we have. You know, can you imagine? Even President Biden knows about lumpia.
Yeah,
You know, uh,
that's good to
time.
know.
Yes, a few times that we spoke to him, and also even the Vice President Harris. So even the government officials here are familiar with our cuisine. Yeah. So, and of course, like I said, the people. The people are the most important one aspect of our relationship. Of course, during the pandemic, the caregivers, the
Mhm.
the
The nurse.
nurses, they were very much appreciated by many people here in the United States.
That's right. But they a lot of during the pandemic, I had a Filipina guest, and she was a nurse in the ICU. So
Mhm.
we were able to kind of highlight what the Filipino nurses do, and it was really amazing what they have done during
Oh,
the
yes,
and continue to do to this day.
and they are in demand here.
Oh,
There's so much demand for our health workers. That's why President Marcos is trying to come out with a program where we will have more schools that for nursing schools, so that we can have these nurses graduate, but they have to serve first in the country for at least 2 years before they can go abroad. No? So that program seems to be a good program because, of course, we also need them in the Philippines. Now, while we are in demand all over the world, we can't also have them all go away and we have nothing left in the country. kawawa naman tayo. So,
That's right. Opo.
importante naman na that our nurses also stay home for a couple of years, serve in their country before they go out into greener pastures.
Right. Because Philippine nurses are the best in the world. We have been
Absolutely.
often told.
Absolutely. Even as you know, the Bush family, President Bush George Bush Jr. said that his father was so appreciative of the nurse that took care of his father for many years and even prolonged his life, they say.
Right. So let me change gears po ulit. I want to talk about our president. So we often witness the president of the Philippines visiting either New York or Washington, D.C. Will our kababayans here in Atlanta be able to welcome President Marcos here in the beautiful state of Georgia in his next visit?
Well, I'll tell you one thing for sure. Of course, as you know, I've known President Marcos well, of course, he's my relative, but the fact is, he loves to travel whenever, at least when he was younger, he said, I remember what he told me that during the pandemic, he says, I wish we could travel more. And now be careful what you wish for, because he says now it's too much. He knows he has to also do his work in the Philippines, but he gets invited so many times now by so many countries all over the world. We're really like in the center of action, so to speak. No, as you know, even people go out of their way to see him. Like President Zelensky of Ukraine just went to the Philippines the other week because they were not able to meet in Singapore, and so many leaders have been inviting to have a state visit and so. Of course, the United States is a very important country, so he's been here many times, mainly because he was invited. The first trip, of course, was in New York, where he needed to have a speech at the United Nations, and then he was invited to have an official visit here in Washington, D.C. He attended the ASEAN meeting, the APEC meeting in San Francisco, and then he came back here for the trilateral meeting with Japan and the United States. But if he had the choice, he wouldn't mind really visiting many of our Filipinos, because he really loves mingling with Filipinos all over the world. If you notice, his schedule will always call for a nice get together with the Filipino community in every country that he goes to, and obviously here in the United States we have so many of them, Filipino Americans. So I'm pretty sure that at some point in time, when things are much let's put it this way, the schedule will permit it, we might just find a way to be able to get him to Atlanta. Why not?
That would be great.
Or if not, we'll find a city that is close enough to Atlanta that you can all go and join
Right.
in and be able to have that salo-salo together with the president. Because he loves, that he went to school here in the United States. So he loves his country. I mean, the United States is a country that is appreciated by many people, and the president is certainly not one that would look at it as a place that one will not want to continue to come and visit all the time.
Right. Kayo po, Ambassador, have you ever visited Atlanta in Georgia before?
I have been there before, except that I have been promising our honorary consul there, si Ray Donato, but I'm planning to do that because what I'm trying to do now is to find, because one of our priorities is economic activity, and there's a company there a couple of companies based out of Atlanta that we would like to be able to interact with. So we're trying to time it in such a way that I'll be able to have that meeting with some of our friends in the business sector to visit Atlanta or Georgia, and hopefully get a chance to be able to get together with people like yourself and other Filipinos there in Atlanta. They say it's a nice, friendly place to visit.
Right, sir. But we would like to officially visit you here in Atlanta as a VIP of Georgia Asian Times
Yes, I would be very happy to. We'll
this
find
year.
time to be able to do it. Once, as I said, we finished quite a number of important aspects of our relationship here in the United States, which required me, of course, to travel to Manila quite often. But I think as things get a little more stable, there'll be more time for us to be able to move around because one of my ambitions is to be able to visit as many states as possible here in the United States because we have Filipino communities in every state here in the United States. I went to Alaska, and we have people who actually living in places, remote areas of Alaska, in Alabama, and everywhere else. So we'll find a way to be able to visit our Filipino friends.
Right. That we would love to see you here in Atlanta, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So lastly, before I let you go, I know you're very busy. Do you have any closing message for Filipinos and our American friends here in Georgia?
Well, the only message that I have is as we celebrate our National Day or Independence Day on June 12th, again, always remember our past and appreciate all the sacrifices that were made by many of our forebears and the wars that they fought, especially the last World War, where our freedom was being challenged. And today we have a lot of challenges once again, and we have to all be united. You know, we can have our political differences, we can have our political beliefs, we can have all kinds of political color, but at the end of the day, Pilipino pa rin tayo. That's the most important thing. Kaya ako, sa totoo lang, Jane, I have never had any negative feelings towards anyone, no matter what their political affiliation is, because I never take it personally in the sense that whatever your political beliefs are, that's fine. But what I don't like, and I will never accept, is a Filipino will say bad things about the country, especially kung hindi totoo. They are betraying their own country and their heritage, and that I think is the worst sin that one can have because it is a betrayal of where you come from. So the loyalty must be to the Philippines, to our flag, and to the people. Loyalties to parties, to people are, to me, are just temporary. If you believe in one particular political personality, that's fine, but you have to be loyal to the country of your birth or your heritage, because that, I think, is what makes you a true and honest to goodness citizen of the world, when you stay by or stand by your country.
Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat rin, Jane. Thank you so much, and all the best to you and our friends there in Atlanta.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
So mga kababayan, maraming salamat po sa holding on sa inyong pakikinig. Before I end, I would like to give you some inspiring quotes kasi napaka-inspiring po ang messages, ang conversation namin, Ambassador. And tingnan nyo, ang ganda ng ngiti ko because I'm so excited. It was such a good conversation. It's so inspiring. So, eto po yung mga inspiring quotes. Independence was the most significant event in our country's history. Not only did we put an end to more than 3 centuries of subservience, but we also resolved to determine the course of our own destiny as a nation. And this is by former President Rodrigo Duterte on June 11, 2019. The second one, the strength of the nation lies in the well-being of the common man. And this is by Diosdado Macapagal, former Philippine president. The third one, it is an honor to die for one's country. Not everybody has the chance. And this is by Jose Abad Santos, former 5th Justice of the Supreme Court of the Philippines, and also briefly served as the acting president of the Commonwealth of the Philippines. And the last, it is in your DNA to be a Filipino. How can you turn your back on it? And this is by Lea Salonga, Filipino Tony Awardee. And that's exactly what the ambassador was talking about earlier. So, sana po ay nagustuhan ninyo ang ating kabanata ngayon. Salamat po sa patuloy ninyong pagtangkilik sa Usapang Pinoy. At sana po ay lagi kayong makibahagi sa ating usapan. Abangan po ang mga susunod na kabanata at special topics para sa inyo. And please consider being a sponsor for Usapang Pinoy. And continue to interact and visit our Facebook page at Usapang Pinoy Podcast. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig. Hanggang sa susunod na kabanata, paalam muna sa ngayon.